July 27, 2026, Negeri Sembilan State Election, why BNPN is viewed as having a realistic path to victory. The Negeri Sembilan State Election on August 1st, 2026 is increasingly being viewed as the clearest electoral battleground where the BNPN alliance is perceived not only as a credible challenger but also as having a realistic pathway toward forming the next state government. Following BN's commanding performance in Johor and the perceived weakening of Pakatan Harapan, PH, in several rural and semi-urban constituencies, political momentum appears to be shifting. Although DAP continues to retain several established strongholds, recent political trends are widely interpreted by supporters of BNPN as indicating fractures in PH support that could be strategically exploited. The official results of the 2023 Negeri Sembilan election provide the essential baseline for understanding the present contest. PH secured 17 seats, including all 11 contested by DAP, while BN won 14 seats and Perikatan Nasional, PN, obtained 5. However, many PH victories were achieved with relatively narrow margins, particularly in mixed and suburban constituencies. Consequently, numerous seats cannot realistically be described as completely secure. Instead, they remain marginal constituencies that may prove highly sensitive to shifts in Malay voting patterns and changes among undecided voters. Johor's 2026 election has strengthened confidence within BN that support is recovering. BN captured 48 of the state's 56 seats while PH secured only 8. Although Johor possesses unique historical and organizational characteristics that contributed to the outcome, one important observation remains that Malay voter support appeared to consolidate behind BN, while urban support alone proved insufficient to sustain PH's dominance. Supporters of BN therefore believe that similar electoral dynamics could emerge in Negeri Sembilan, particularly within mixed Malay constituencies. Sabah is also cited by proponents of this assessment as reinforcing another important political narrative. They argue that PH and DAP are no longer electorally invulnerable, even in constituencies once considered relatively secure. Although Sabah's political environment differs substantially from Peninsular Malaysia, they contend that voters have become increasingly pragmatic, placing greater emphasis on economic conditions, development, and political stability. From this perspective, BNPN may find greater opportunities to compete in constituencies previously regarded as difficult. Within Negeri Sembilan itself, supporters of BNPN frequently identify between 5 and 8 constituencies as realistically competitive. These seats generally possess sizable Malay electorates together with significant numbers of undecided voters. They further argue that effective coordination between BN and PN in direct contests substantially increases the probability of victory, particularly in marginal constituencies where relatively small changes in voting behavior could determine the final outcome. The BN-PN electoral understanding has also altered the competitive landscape. BN is contesting 25 seats, while PN is contesting 11, thereby avoiding opposition vote splitting that occurred in earlier elections. Advocates of the alliance view this arrangement as providing a clear mathematical advantage because Malay votes are less likely to fragment, while PH is perceived as relying more heavily upon urban and non-Malay support in several rural and semi-urban constituencies. Although practical challenges remain in coordinating campaign machinery, proponents maintain that greater consolidation of Malay Muslim support under BNPN creates a structural electoral advantage. In many marginal seats, previous victory margins measured only several hundred votes, suggesting that relatively modest electoral movement could alter constituency outcomes. Negeri Sembilan's demographic composition also contributes to expectations of an intensely competitive election. While 𝙤𝚊𝚘𝚍 voters constitute the majority, Chinese and Indian communities remain significant, particularly within urban centers such as Seremban. Nevertheless, supporters of BNPN contend that PH's urban margins have narrowed while economic concerns, including cost of living pressures, have strengthened BNPN's position in suburban constituencies. For BN, the perceived opportunity rests upon three principal factors: consolidated Malay support, credible local candidates, and a stability narrative strengthened after Johor. UMNO is widely viewed by its supporters as regaining organizational momentum, while cooperation with PN is regarded as reinforcing the conservative vote. MCA and MIC are expected to retain sufficient non-Malay support to remain competitive in mixed constituencies. Meanwhile, PH and DAP face the challenge of defending increasingly competitive seats. Although they continue to enjoy significant urban support, issues surrounding living costs, perceptions of government performance, and political fatigue after successive electoral cycles are regarded by critics as increasing electoral pressure. Constituencies previously considered comfortable victories are now viewed as substantially more competitive. Three broad scenarios are commonly discussed. First, BN-PN could potentially form the state government should continued Malay voter consolidation enable the alliance to capture several marginal seats. Second, a closely divided assembly could emerge if PH retains urban constituencies while consistently losing suburban areas. Third, PH could remain in government through exceptionally strong mobilization across mixed constituencies despite current political trends. Ultimately, the Negeri Sembilan State Election is increasingly viewed as extending beyond the defense of the status quo. From the perspective of BNPN supporters, the alliance now possesses a realistic pathway toward victory through coordinated candidacies, Johor's momentum, and perceived weaknesses in several PH-held marginal constituencies. Nevertheless, the final outcome remains dependent upon polling day itself, and only the official vote will determine whether current political expectations translate into electoral reality. Thank you all for tuning in and supporting my podcast news channel. Your time, attention, and engagement truly mean a great deal. I sincerely appreciate your continued support and thoughtful viewership. Join, follow, like, and share.